Hello and welcome to my knife channel. Well, I'm going to try to do this one tray at a time, but Jersey Knife Guy did a tag or an open thing where he loves Rough Ryder knives also, and he said, show me your Rough Riders. At first I thought, I've got so many of them that I'm just going to pick out some favorites, but right now I'm just going to do it one tray at a time, and I'll just start going over what I like about each one, and then I'll add more to the tray. Let me get a box to put the ones that I finished with in. Let me pause this video while I just find a box. Alright, I got a box for when I take them away. I can put them in a box and make room on this table. Alright, so one of the things I like about Rough Riders is they're inexpensive. But they're good quality for the price that you're paying. They're even better quality than the price you're paying. You would expect, if you're only paying $13 or so for a knife, that it'd be junk. That the steel would be crap, the fit and finish would be crap, and instead, you get something that's well made. Many times better made than what was available when I was a kid in the late 70s, early 60s, late 60s. So, but we'll just go through. What I'm trying to do is, when I grew up, there was pretty much only one pattern that I was dealing with, which was kind of like a copperhead. I had a knife. I don't have it out here because I was just going to do Rough Ryder knives only, but it had two blades on it. It's that saber that I've got that was like one of my first pocket knives, and that's all I had. I didn't know about other patterns. I didn't know about any of this other stuff. I just knew that these were like traditional knives, and that was about it. I didn't get to see a lot of them used by other people either. There was maybe a stockman around once in a while or something like that, but most people just had a little pocket knife or a little pen knife, something like this, and a bigger knife if they were going to use it. So, like I said, once I got past, got into the military and everything, I went in 1975, so that's when they were just starting to come around with buck folding hunters and stuff like that. Buck had been out before that, but that was the main kind of light knife, and that's what I got. And when I started, I got a Gerber Easy Out later on, an ATS 34 steel, and that was pretty much my folders, kind of like a Spyderco. It had a blade hole opening, but it was like a half serrated blade and everything. And that's pretty much what I used. And then when the modern folders came out, I started getting into those, and that's when I recently started getting back into knives. I started getting a lot of modern flippers and stuff like that. And only recently have I discovered the traditional knives, which we have right here, and I really love them. I'm finding patterns. So what I was doing is I'll go through and I'll look for different patterns, like Stockman. I want to see what a Stockman's like, so I'll try it. So let's pull out a Stockman, for example. Now this one has two things going for it. One, it has a pattern that I wanted to try, which is the Stockman. I wanted to see what's up with the Stockman, and it also had a series, the Stoneworks, that I was interested in, what that looked like and everything. So sometimes I'm just collecting like another knife because I like the series, and then sometimes I'm collecting it because I like the pattern, and sometimes it's both. So for example, like this one, that's what I was trying to do, is like, all right, I like the Stockman. I like the Stockman pattern. It's kind of a good overall like work knife size and everything. The Sunfish looked like an overgrown canoe, and I'll show the canoes later, but I thought, man, the Sunfish should be, like really awesome. It should be something that's really great. And maybe just because of my example, the main blade is not too bad, but like I said, I thought they would be like a bigger, for the size of the handle, I thought the blades would be bigger and thicker, and if you compare them to a regular canoe, they are. But then I ran into one of the very worst knife pulls ever on a blade. This one is a nail breaker. I just pulled my fingernail up doing that on that. Um, that just kind of ruined it for me on this type of knife. Now I know it's just like one end of it, and they usually all have a hard pull, but that one is the worst one. Now a loose one you can tighten up, but a tightened one, I don't know. Anyways, so I was kind of disappointed in that particular pattern. I mean, yeah, the sunfish pattern. Now they make an elephant toe and other sizes and stuff like that, but they're basically like that. I like the concept of the knife. I'm just gonna have to try different ones. All right, so here's another thing that I really like is the teardrop jack. Now this one I modified and made it glow in the dark, but it's basically a single blade and that swell in the hand and everything, plus the combination of the spear point and everything. This is a great knife. They only have it in the copper series, which is like this. They only have it one other one in the copper series like this. The only thing that's other kind of close to that is this, but this one is more of a Barlow shape, and it has the same kind of like spear point blade. We'll get into that one later. But anyways, teardrop jack, I like that. This one was a buckshot bone teardrop jack originally. All right, so then we move over to the little, well, let's get this guy, because he kind of looks like a Barlow also. But it's an electrician's knife. It's in the coal miner series. Most of the coal miner series is a jigged handle, black jigged handle. And this one's smooth. And it says, be prepared, which is like a Boy Scout motto. It's kind of shaped like an electrician's T29, I think is the World War II type of knife, because it has the same locking blade for the screwdriver, the wire stripper screwdriver combination type of thing there, and the unusual little wrench on the end. I got this one mainly because of this. I've seen one where a guy had cut this off. He cut off both blades, but I think I could see why you'd want to cut off maybe one, because it's really hard to run into one that's got a nice spear point blade like this and a Barlow handle, because here's a Barlow, and it's the traditional Barlow. It has, you know, like a drop point and then a pin blade. So I like the single blade Barlows. I don't have one of those. They make a smaller one, but I'll get it in. Now this is a single blade Barlow, but it's more of a penknife size, you know, and it's locking. I really like this guy too. I sharpened him up so it's pretty damn sharp. And there's a good lock on this one. And it has, you know, kind of like, it's kind of a fancy knife, you know. You want to whip it out, people would be more likely to be impressed than afraid if you do something like that. Same way it goes with traditional little peanuts. This one's in white bone, but, you know, you got just a little blade right here, but it's long enough to do most of what you need, you know. And it's in the white bone, which I was collecting some of that pattern also. I mean, that series. It has a nice little pin blade on there. This one is in orange bone, I think is what they call this, but it really looks like the tobacco bone type of stuff. So that led me to want to start collecting anything more orange smooth bone, but I haven't got a whole lot of those. Then we got the tiny toothpicks. This one is in imitation tortoiseshell. These things have the really fine point over here, and it's very good, you know, if you want to get underneath your fingernails and dig out any stuff underneath your fingernails. This one's pretty sharp. I mean, keep most of them sharp. It has a very thin blade though, so you're not going to put it up to a lot of abuse. This one is also in that gold flake strike it rich pattern peanut, and this one is in the black cherry bone, which I really like. That's a nice one that they've done there. See if I can show it there where it says black cherry bone. There we go. Air conditioner kicking in. Alright, so then we get into the Wharncliff, which is, I found out, this is the blade shape that I love the most, is the Wharncliff. And, yeah, that's why I like the Spyderco Capara has a kind of a Wharncliff shape to it. But I like the Wharncliff shape. This is a single Wharncliff, they just call it the Wharncliff. This one's in brown stag bone, which is a series that I like to collect also. Here's the Wharncliff, the same Wharncliff, but it's got the spider etching on it, everything. And I like that Black Widow series, so I'll probably collect more of them. Right now I just have the lockback. We might as well jump up to there and clear these guys out before we go any further. This lockback is pretty cool. I like this one because your finger just rests right in here. It's just like ergonomically, and the hand swell back here, I mean the palm swell, just, if you've got a more narrow handled knife in here and you're doing any torque or anything, it's it'll start digging into your hand more. But if you can spread that, pressure around more, it really helps reduce stress and everything. It's got a very nice combination, like spear drop point type of blade with a nice little swedge on top. So yeah, we got that. And then this is my favorite size toothpick, the medium size. I'll pull out we got a long one over there, our large toothpick. You've already seen the small ones, but this one fits my hand perfectly and gives me enough blade. With the large 5-inch toothpick, the blades, I mean, it's an efficient size for the amount of blade that you're getting. It doesn't take up a whole lot of pocket space or weight, and it's got a very small handle to it. So I'm learning to like, the larger toothpick, but for right now, the medium is more my favorite. And then this is called a bow belly trapper, and man, this is a good size, and it's another good knife that's got a very good, clip point blade on it, with very nice half stops and everything. Plus, it's got that series, that Tobacco Road series, which is cool. And then you've got a very nice spade type of blade that's just, it gives you a lot more belly. Most spade blades, they come up like about halfway and they stop, but this one comes up. It's like a modified spade blade. So that's pretty cool. Speaking of Wharncliffs, this is the largest Wharncliff that I found that they make. Maybe they make some more or something, but I mean, that's what I got this one for. And it's a big knife, but its weight, I like its weight because it's like 6 ounces. And if it weighed like 4 ounces or something, it'd be a big knife. It'd feel like it was like cheap, I mean, this one feels substantial in your hand. It has a little lanyard loop in the back and everything. So that's a very cool knife. Then we got the toad sticker, which is always fun. Or, they call them melon testers, but this is really shaped more for like stabbing. I mean, because I stab the side of my recliner all the time with it, and it just goes right in. Any other kind of knife, even a doctor's knife, has a hard time just stabbing through material like that. The only problem that you have with a traditional knife, if you're used to modern knives, is this is non-locking. So if you're holding it back here and you go to stab, there's a good chance that this thing can fold. And if it does, there's no half stop on this one. It's going to come down, and you're going to get cut. So you're better if you're actually going to stab anything, is to hold it up here. Yeah, you're going to lose a lot of the reach and everything, but if you're going to stab and meet anything with any resistance, like a watermelon or even a toad would be all right. But if you go through the toad and into the ground and your hand is going through in a thrust and you're not expecting it, you're going to close the blade on your hand. You'll make that mistake once. Then you'll probably learn your lesson. All right, let's go up here to the top. Here's another lockback. It's another small lockback. This is in the burl wood, I think they added this green tint here that they could have left out, you know, because a green dye. Because I don't know, it just seemed kind of inconsistent. The other green is perfectly fine. It looks really great, but I don't know. That's just my opinion, but still, it's a halfway decent little knife, lock back. These are great, man. I love this Wharncliff. I mean, it's a sheep's foot, but this big old sheep's foot blade right here, this Marlin spike. It's got a very good functional Marlin spike, you know, with a lock on it. I never knew these things before would lock. You know, some of them actually say lift up here, you know, to release it. We've seen this one before, but these are pretty cool. This is like an equal end jackknife. They actually, I've seen it called a muskrat. I mean a moose. I've seen them call it a moose pattern. Anyway, I'm gonna get some more of these. This one, like I said, it's got all that stuff underneath it, so it's gonna be a user. But it's a very nice knife. I really like those. And then we talk about copperheads. This is a smaller kind of copperhead, and I don't remember if this one was called antique bone or whatever, but I like this series too. It's like smooth tobacco bone type of shape. Here's a little Sowbelly Trapper. Sowbelly Stockman in that pattern. That series. Those blades on a little sheep's foot over here. Pretty cool knife. Copperhead again. This one is in the amber jig bone. And then this is a Congress. This is the one that I spent a lot of hours sharpening it and everything, because when I got it, there were little dents in the blade. And so I sat there and I sharpened every one of these blades, like 3 blades, sharpened up really great. And then when I closed this, it happened again. And that's when I found out there's blade wrapping. It's actually wrapping this pin. You can see how that's raised up back there. I'm going to have to go in there and take the metal out a little bit off that liner, because these pins are sprung. You see how that pushed down? So even though that kick should stop it, you would think this kick would stop it. It still allows it to go down pretty far. This kick should probably have been built up a lot more so that you couldn't do this at rest. You can't do it to this blade, but you can do it. And you can't do it to that blade, but you can do it to this one. Real easy. So the outer small blades are like that. Anyway, mess around with that, and that's like a larger size, because this is another Congress, but it's a little bit smaller. It doesn't have that issue with them. This one just had a little bit of rust on it that I had to clean off. And then this one is in a very nice pattern that I want to collect. Look at that swirl in there. This is the Painted Desert, and oh my, they just did such a good job on that. I really like that. Right now, the only other thing I can find in Painted Desert is a toothpick, a tiny toothpick, and a Stockman. So, but the rest of that pattern, that's the problem you run into with some of these older patterns, is you can't always get them all. You know, I go to Smoky Mountain Knife Works and see if they're in stock and get them there, because that's usually your cheapest price and the easiest way if you have any warranty issues or anything like that. Failing that, I go to eBay and I look and I try to find, and sometimes they go crazy, you know, like this knife is around $15, but there's another seller that thinks it's unique, and he's selling the exact same knife for $39.95 plus like $8 shipping. It's like, come on, it's a good knife, but I mean, more than double what it's normally going for. I mean, how badly do you need that, you know, in your collection? I'm not willing to go that far. So anyways, we covered those. Let me pause this and just throw in the last few that we've got. All right, we're down to the last of them. Canoes. I love the canoe shape. It fits well in the pocket. There's nothing sticking up, like on the end of the knife, like you would normally get, like over here. This one's not too bad. Some of them, they really stick up a lot on the end. So a canoe is really nice. It has a nice spear point blade, and then you've got another usually spear point blade or pin blade. This one was originally white. Now it has a hint of blue because I wanted to see if I could scrape off the dye that I put on there. And you can a little bit, but some of the dye went into the bone. So I'm going to kind of leave it like that. And again, this is that Strike It Rich gold series and everything. Besides being a canoe, I was collecting that. This is a lockback canoe, which I really like, and black cherry bone again, which is another pattern that I liked. Got a very good little lockback to it. It's almost identical to a regular canoe in size. I think it is identical in size. The Glow series, of course, we talked about. So we've got a canoe in there, a stockman, a little tiny toothpick, and then this is another pattern. They make different sizes of this. I thought this was a big size, but it's not. It's like the small or medium size, but it's a liner lock knife. And it has a very good upswept, you know, like barely drop point blade to it. And, of course, the little fixed blade, which I've got a leather sheath that I ordered for it because this one's really like, it's okay, but it's crap, basically, you know? I mean, it's all right. I wouldn't want them to raise the price of the knife just to throw in a little bit better sheath because they might throw in one that's leather but not that great. A little pry bar thing that I modified, put a little bail on it and everything. That's cool. I like this thing. Works good as a screwdriver, too. I used it on that Linsatic compass. I mean, not Linsatic compass, but on a bayonet the other day. Fit the handle screws very well. Trappers. I'm not a huge fan of trappers, mainly because of the secondary blade is just a spay blade, and I'm not going out spaying a lot of things and everything, and usually the upswept of this is enough, you know, for me to do everything. So the tailgate trapper is cool because it has a little combination screwdriver, cap lifter type of thing. So we have that. This one was supposed to be in tobacco bone. The main reason I was getting it was, brown Appaloosa bone, and it turned out to be like purple Appaloosa, which, you know, Appaloosa is usually a coloring on a horse or something. I don't think there's any purple Appaloosas out in the wild. But I could be wrong. Maybe they're into that nowadays. I haven't been following Appaloosas lately. And of course, this is another trapper, but I like the Outdoorsman series because it has that kind of tobacco bone type of stuff. It just has a standard tobacco things on it. This one is the same thing, basically, but it's a little bit smaller and has a lockback, which is kind of cool. This is another thing that I like is these hawkbills. They're pretty cool. They're used in gardening and pruning and stuff like that. It's just a big old blade. It's pretty cool. This one was white, and I dyed it red, and I'm going to keep it like that because I like that color, and they don't offer it. Doctor's knives. I got a lot more doctor knives coming in, but doctor's knives are one of my favorite things to collect. It's like a long, thin blade, and they're just cool. I don't know. This one is in classic carbon, and it's a single blade. This is the Backwoods Bushcrafter single blade with copper liners. This is the brown stag bone one. It has two blades, but the second blade is a pin blade. Pipe Doctor, one of my favorite ones. Little pipe probe thing here and a little sheep's foot blade on it. This one they call the Blue Ocean, and sheep's foot blade and the traditional little spatula thing, which works well for a lot of things, especially like mixing up glow-in-the-dark powder. This is the same tobacco bone one, but it has a clip point blade on it, and it actually has the spatula. This is one that I use to mix stuff up in. All right, and these guys I kind of left out. The mini canoe, they were hiding over there in the corner. That's a pretty cool little shape, the little mini canoe. Two little blades there. And, of course, these guys, I forgot these, the little cubs. This one has a combination of being cool because of the being a cub, you know, being a little lockback with that little ergonomic, perfect little finger groove type of thing, 3-fingered type of knife. And it has a copper series, which is going to patina and everything, which is cool. And I have that's it as far as the Rough Ryder collection for now. But I mean, I just ordered a bunch more from Smoky Mountain Knife Works, and a couple more from eBay. So I'll be having more come in. But that's basically my Rough Ryder collection. I love them all. I'm not a super fan of trappers. I mean, they're all right, but I mean, it's a pretty big knife and a large blade. If I want to do that, I'm going to carry my favorite, you know, like large blade in here, which is this guy. I'll get a little sheath for him or something like that, you know, bell sheet, so I can carry it around. But I just love this Wharncliff blade, which will probably get me into case knives and stuff, because I was going to skip case and just go straight to GEC just because of the quality issues, but case has got a lot of nice little Wharncliff, like the seahorse or swayback seahorse whittler and stuff like that. Nice looking Wharncliff blades. My only dislike on the Wharncliff blades on the other ones is they're too thin. They're too small. I mean, I like it, but I would like it if the handle was a little bit. If the Wharncliff belly was a little bit deeper, like if they doubled this, then this would be like a perfect blade to me, you know. But I mean, I don't think it would make the knife that much thicker. Anyway, there you go. That's my ramblings on Rough Ryders. They're inexpensive. You can get a lot of them for, like, if you're into doctor's knives and you say, ooh, I want another one. Each one of these are around $15 or so. Some are like only $13. Some are slightly more, like $17. I think this was like $17. So you can get, you know, a few of them. Whereas if you were going to get like a Spyderco or a Benchmade or something like that, you're talking $100-something bucks. You know, man, you can probably get everything on this table for $100. Maybe not. That one jumped in. That was like 25. But anyway, there you go. Hope you enjoyed that. Show us your Rough Ryders, if you got any, and what you think of them. Yeah, you're going to run into an occasional one that's got an issue or something, but, you know, for the price that you're paying, and if you got it from Smoky Mountain Knife Work, you can usually return it for free. It's guaranteed for life, so what more can you ask for? Thanks for watching, and have a nice day.